You are with us, aren't you, Angela? I can't see you at the moment.
Yeah, I'm here. Yep.
Yes,
I can't see me either.
The sun has set, so it's all become a little bit darker for all of us. So that time of day, yeah. It's well, an amazing effort. I just can't imagine how one would have done that without the sort of electronic communication we've got now, of course, isn't it? In a way, these things like Zoom and everything has made quite a big difference.
Yeah, absolutely.
In being able to communicate with everybody.
Yeah. And the willingness to participate. Everyone has been extremely happy to participate. So that's great.
Yeah, that's good. So, Ian Peters has come in with a question. Is there any countries where the effect wasn't observed?
No, not in our study. We go into quite a lot of detail in the manuscript, so you'll be able to see all that data hopefully very soon. And no, so we haven't seen any fundamental difference. I can see Mark is posting a question as well about the USA. The USA was invited, the CDC was invited to join, but the data weren't yet ready in the sort of speed at which we needed it. So they have takes a bit more time to process everything. So this needed to happen quickly. So certainly moving forward, this will continue. The IRIS initiative will continue, of course, and we'll continue collecting data. And we're very happy to add more countries. This was something that we did really at speed. And there were a couple countries, including the US, that just couldn't provide data as quickly as possible.
And the interesting thing wasn't it, Angela, mostly it was from temperate countries, wasn't it? So, but then there was a seasonal signal that was inverted, whether you're in the northern or the southern hemisphere.
Yes, but the overall signal. So we do have Brazil, South Africa, and New Zealand involved, and the overall trend was still the same in each country.
The effect's the same, but the seasons are just different. Yeah. Because of course we were in the northern hemisphere countries. We were going into a time when you would normally see a little bit less disease. And Noel, who's on the line, I think somewhere took account of that. So Karina's wondering, similar to Ian, that schools remaining open or not in the first wave in some countries like Sweden are. So you see, they're asking the.
I know. So I'm afraid I'm going to punt that, and I'm going to say wait for the paper because it's coming out. We've got a lot of really nice data that addresses questions like that. So I don't want to
preempt it.
I don't want to preempt it. So yes.
But you're absolutely right, Karina. There's a lot of interesting granularity in these data. Crispin, how much of the reduction in pneumo cases may have been due to underreporting of cases, considering so many people have been reluctant to visit hospital? Well, that's a very, very interesting question, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think we discussed this at length as well, and I think we probably don't have a good answer to that yet, except to say that we've looked quite carefully at least what was coming into the laboratories. So again, where there's no difference with Group B strep, doesn't suggest that we're necessarily biasing the data. So I think we have to be careful about that because there's obviously still a lot of data coming in, but I don't think we have data that's good enough yet to say that would.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting.
It wouldn't negate the results that we're seeing, and particularly given the fact that this is such a large study across a lot of countries. And when you see that sort of consistency, then you think, well, it can't be that everybody was just missing a lot of data.
No,
so I think time will tell as to how much we can tease that out.
Of course, these are quite serious invasive diseases, often in populations where they are noticed. So to me, it's believable that we're not missing very much for that reason. But
I think Mark has just posted a comment which basically says more or less, I don't think you stay away from the hospital if you have IPD. So
yeah, no, that's right. And Chris is talking about the S. galactae mostly affects children. Do you consider E. coli infection computer infection control? I mean, there are a number of other diseases. I mean, it's interesting that we do a little bit of work on Campylobacter, and it doesn't look like there's a lot of difference in that. It has changed it a bit, but the infection rates are still the same. I'm not sure we're seeing a lot of reduction in reporting of serious bacterial disease.
No, I think that's right. We considered different comparator organisms. E. coli was on the list. A lot of it was what we could analyze quite quickly and robustly, given the data that we had. So Group B strep was a very robust analysis. So please wait for the paper. Hopefully there will be, hopefully that's out fairly soon, and there'll be lots of questions answered once you see that paper.
And Linda's picked up the very interesting point, which is one that I'm particularly concerned about, and I've tried to get people interested, but of course it's difficult at this time. Do you think lower transmission reflects lower carriage, and this effect might be prolonged even when social distancing does stop? Well, that's very interesting, isn't it? I mean, we're stopping people having their natural microbiome, and what happens as a consequence of that is more or less anybody's guess.
Yeah, and I think the IRIS initiative is really designed specifically for that purpose as well, to monitor things longer term. So it's precisely why this became really important, not just for now, but going forward, to see how things change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Shama Sudin has asked, did we look at any other confounders that may have caused the drop?
We've looked at a number of different, other confounders. Well, we've considered lots of different things. Again, that's discussed in the paper. And we've looked at other ways in which the data might be affected by certain other things like the containment measures and so on. So yes, we have considered that, but yeah, you read more about that in the paper.
Yeah. And Mark has just mentioned, who's been involved in the study, of course, loosening the measures already shows rising numbers in Germany. It's worth saying, I think, just from my perspective, perhaps hope you don't mind me barging in there, but the pneumococcal, which is your baby, has shown that although you see the signal in meninge and Haemophilus, it's really the very high, the much higher numbers of cases of pneumococci that make the signal very strong and very believable and very consistent across countries, isn't it? That's the that's the thing. I mean, and of course, when you think about it, if the lockdowns are affecting respiratory organisms, which is what it's aimed to do, then you wouldn't expect anything else. Excellent. Is the reduction of cases associated with particular ages? Asked Yvonne. If so, is it more in adolescence?
So we can't directly answer that at the moment, systematically across all the data, because, as I said, we focused very much on the minimal data to start with. And so the rest of those data are coming now. So again, we do have quite a lot of it. From some countries have submitted quite a lot of metadata, but not all have. And that will be continuing over the course of the next few weeks and months to collect more of the data. So we will certainly be able to answer a lot more questions as time goes on. We wanted to address a very straightforward question to start off with.